Godzilla King of the Monsters received a lot of flack upon its release for a variety of reasons. An incomprehensible plot, weak dialogue, one-dimensional characters, and a lackluster score. As of right now, the film has a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, and is the lowest rated MonsterVerse film on that website.
It's just not a very good movie. When there is a monster fight and you can deduce what's happening without vomiting, it's a pleasure, a joy to watch. I absolutely love it sometimes, and then hate it the majority of the other times because it does get actually hard to look at.
On top of that, Godzilla King of the Monsters barely broke even at the box office, which is largely why Warner Brothers has decided to avoid Godzilla solo films from here on out and just focus on team-up movies with King Kong. Despite all of that, King of the Monsters manages to be one of the most beautiful and heartfelt Hollywood blockbusters to be released in recent memory. It effectively captures the spirit of the Toho kaiju films of yesteryear while also transplanting the world of Godzilla into the modern age of superhero epics and cinematic universes. The film starts with a flashback to the 2014 Godzilla film. We see glimpses of Godzilla battling the Mutos while the Russell family search for their son Andrew in the destroyed city of San Francisco. We then cut to 5 years later, where we're introduced to our protagonist, Maddie Russell, played by Stranger Things actor Millie Bobby Brown in her feature film debut. After the passing of her brother Andrew, her parents are now separated. Madison's mom, Emma, played by Vera Farmiga, is taking care of Maddie and working for Monarch as a paleobiologist. Emma has been developing a MacGuffin known as the Orca, which has the ability to control kaijus via bioacoustics. The Orca reminds me a lot of how Titanosaurus is able to be controlled in Terror of Mechagodzilla, and how he's like vulnerable to supersonic waves. For the most part, I think the Orca is a very interesting plot device. It's a great way of focusing the human plotline on the kaijus. But that being said, it does feel like the agency of the monsters is lessened. What I mean is, it feels like the kaijus in Godzilla King of the Monsters are more passive characters than active participants in the narrative. In previous Godzilla films, the monsters often seem to operate with a sense of agency, for the most part, as though they had their own motivations and intentions. Whether it was Godzilla defending the planet from otherworldly threats, or Mothra's instinctual desire to protect the twin fairies. These creatures felt like characters in their own right, rather than mere tools manipulated by humans or aliens. So in short, I like the Orca in the film's plot, but I don't like how it removes agency from the monsters. Getting back to the story itself, the larva form of Mothra hatches, but immediately turns hostile and begins attacking armed Monarch soldiers. Emma manages to get Mothra under control by using the Orca, showcasing how the device works and why it's important to the story. All of a sudden, a group of armed men arrive and kill the Monarch team, leaving Madison and Emma alive. This group is later revealed to be an eco-terrorist organization led by former British military colonel and MI6 agent Alan Jonah, who, as we'll see later on, is just gone from the MonsterVerse. Like, this is his only film appearance. He is just gone, which really sucks because he's such a cool villain and I want to know what makes him tick, but unfortunately this is the last we see of him. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Dr. Serizawa, Dr. Graham, and Sam Coleman represent Monarch before a Senate committee. They're stressing the importance of understanding and coexisting with kaijus. And here we see a really interesting clash of ideologies, with the Monarch team advocating for a nuanced understanding of kaijus and stressing the importance of coexistence, while Senator Williams dismisses their concerns with a wave of bureaucratic skepticism. What makes the scene work so well is its world building and how it mirrors real-world debates surrounding environmental conservation and global cooperation. The presence of a Senate committee underscores the gravity of the situation. It emphasizes that the existence of kaijus isn't just a fantastical element, but it's a geopolitical reality in this world. Dr. Serizawa's emphasis on symbiosis over conflict adds depth to the narrative, suggesting that there's more at stake than just defeating monsters. It speaks to a larger theme of humanity's relationship with the natural world and the consequences of our actions on the delicate balance of ecosystems. Moreover, the portrayal of the US government's response to the kaiju threat actually feels refreshingly realistic. Rather than just resorting to simplistic solutions or military bravado, the film presents a nuanced depiction of how different factions within the government would actually deal with this challenge. There would be skepticism, as shown by Senator Williams, as They act as a foil to the more enlightened perspective of the Monarch team, highlighting the political and ideological tensions inherent in addressing existential threats. However, they would leave this meeting and then recruit Mark Russell, Maddie's estranged dad, in order to rescue both Maddie and Emma, as well as get their hands on the Orca. Learning of Jonah's plan to awaken the mysterious Monster Zero in Antarctica, Monarch mobilizes to stop him. Jonah's mercenaries seize Outpost 32 in Antarctica, and they successfully awaken Monster Zero before triggering a fight with Godzilla. A fierce battle ensues between Godzilla and Monster Zero. I absolutely love the shot where Godzilla's tail hits the ground, and we see the atomic breath start to heat up as the music builds. It's just so awesome. Unfortunately, though, the fight results in significant casualties, mainly Dr. Graham. This is one of the best characterizations of Monster Zero, or King Ghidorah as he's later called. The fact that this Ghidorah outright targets humans makes him the scariest iteration of the character by a long shot. This might be a hot take, but King Ghidorah is kind of a boring monster. He's mainly a pawn for other alien races trying to invade Earth in the Showa era. Sure, there is some lore that Ghidorah wiped out the civilization living on Venus prior to the events of Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, but what we actually see of him on screen is being nothing more than a pet to alien invaders in films like Invasion of the Astro Monster. Even expanding towards 1991's Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, he's graduated from being controlled by aliens to being controlled by humans from the future. Here, Ghidorah has more agency and is more of a direct threat to humanity. He's not doing all this because he's being forced to and it's part of a bigger agenda. He's doing it because he wants to and because he can, and that's so horrifying to me. Wait, are you tired of feeling like your online privacy is as secure as a post-it note on a busy street? Picture this. Browsing the internet without protection is like traveling with a see-through backpack. Everyone can see where you keep your wallet. But fear not, because today's video is sponsored by Private Internet Access, your virtual bodyguard in the digital world. So, what exactly is a VPN? Well, it's a lot like a cloak of invisibility for your internet connection. With Private Internet Access, your IP address is hidden and your online activity is encrypted through a secure tunnel, shielding you from prying eyes and data thieves. Think about those public Wi-Fi networks at airports or coffee shops. They're a goldmine for hackers lurking in the shadows, ready to snatch your personal data quicker than you can say password 123. But with Private Internet Access, your data stays safe and sound, even on sketchy networks. Their world-class server infrastructure encrypts your connection, making your information as bulletproof as Godzilla. And here's the kicker. Have you ever missed out on binge watching your favorite shows because of regional restrictions? With Private Internet Access, you can wave goodbye to geo-blocks and say hello to unlimited content from around the globe. From streaming services to online deals, Private Internet Access lets you access it all with just a click of a button. And with support for all major platforms, you can protect every device in your household or workspace. And did I forget to mention their commitment to privacy? With over 30 million downloads, Private Internet Access is the most transparent VPN provider out there. They never log your data, and their no logs policy has stood the test of time. Plus, signing up for Private Internet Access is risk-free, with their 30-day money-back guarantee and 24/7 customer support at your fingertips. Speaking from personal experience, this is the best VPN that I've ever used. So why wait? Protect your digital life today with Private Internet Access. You can use my referral code www.piavpn.com/firewood to get 83% off Private Internet Access with 4 months free. You heard that right. 4 months free. Remember, when it comes to your privacy, don't leave it to chance. Choose Private Internet Access. Following this, Emma, who's driven by a belief in Titan salvation, activates the Orca to awaken all of the Titans worldwide, including Rodan. I also find Rodan's characterization here to be really interesting. He's a very shifty character. You're never really sure exactly what side he's on, but tends to lean more towards whichever monster is the alpha. as showcased near the end when he submits to Godzilla. I know a lot of people consider Anguirus and Rodan to be Godzilla's two closest allies, but I always preferred a more destructive take on Rodan, akin to his solo film from 1956. You can do more interesting things with the character when he's shown to be more of a threat to humanity. We see this firsthand in that incredible jet fighter sequence. Something else that I really like about Rodan here is his biovolcanic ability. The magma flows through his body, and it makes him more of an interesting monster as opposed to him just being a giant pterodactyl. Or pterodon? I don't know, dinosaur bros, sound off in the comments. Monarch struggles to contain the chaos as Titans rampage across the globe under Ghidorah's influence. Serizawa sacrifices himself to rejuvenate Godzilla in an absolutely incredible scene, by the way. That whole temple, the Godzilla temple, so cool. I want to know more about that. I doubt they'll explore it too much, but it is so fascinating to me. I want to see the human-Godzilla connection showcased more in MonsterVerse movies because it is just so compelling. Godzilla ultimately emerges as humanity's last hope against Ghidorah's tyranny. Madison, realizing her mother's folly, intervenes to stop Ghidorah's reign of terror. With the aid of Monarch, Madison disrupts the Orca's signal, luring Ghidorah to a final showdown with Godzilla in Boston. In a cataclysmic battle, Mothra dies, Rodan is injured pretty badly, Godzilla harnesses his nuclear power and Mothra's essence to become Burning Godzilla and obliterate Ghidorah. When this movie was a few weeks out from release, I remember perusing Walmart and seeing a Burning Godzilla toy for this movie and thinking, yeah, right, they're not going to put that in the movie. It seemed so far-fetched at the time that they would actually utilize Burning Godzilla, but they did, and it worked really well. Sure, it's nowhere near as impactful as Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, but it doesn't have to be, nor should it be. This isn't the god-awful Snyderverse. I don't want Godzilla dying in his second movie. It's just cool to see a visual homage to Burning Godzilla without having to carry all the baggage that comes with it. In the aftermath of the battle, the Titans, now under Godzilla's rule, bow to him and restore balance to the world as the film cuts to credits. Side note, the end credits here are fantastic. We get to see some subtle foreshadowing hinting at what the MonsterVerse still has to offer, like a nod towards Mechagodzilla. On top of that, it also features some really neat tributes to the Toho films, and even the 1956 Americanized version of the original Godzilla movie with a nod towards Raymond Burr's character, Steve Martin. Meanwhile, the music playing in the background is a cover of the Blue Oyster Cult song, Godzilla. It's wild to think that this is the very first time that song has been used in a Godzilla movie, and while I adore the original song, I'm a big fan of this cover. It has System of a Down's Serj Tankian on vocals alongside members of the band Deathclock, and it is just really, really good. This song was on loop for like weeks when it first dropped on streaming. I was hooked on this thing. Godzilla King of the Monsters expertly pays homage to the legacy of Godzilla by incorporating familiar elements, like the big monster battles, the awe-inspiring visuals, and a sense of environmental allegory reminiscent of its Japanese predecessors. Additionally, including iconic monsters like Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah add additional depth to the lore and expand the universe beyond just Godzilla himself. We see a ton of new kaijus here, and it's immediately made clear that Godzilla is not alone in this universe. There is so much world building here, and unfortunately that world building has been kind of ignored recently, which I'll talk about later on when I cover those movies, but as of right now, I love the world building here. By embracing the nostalgia of Toho's kaiju legacy while also incorporating modern filming techniques, Godzilla King of the Monsters manages to strike a delicate balance between homage and innovation. This fusion allows the film to resonate with both longtime fans of the franchise and newcomers alike. The film's director, Michael Dougherty, is very clearly a fan of the source material, and this movie feels like the best Godzilla fan film ever made. I mean that as a compliment, by the way. It manages to utilize some of the best aspects of the franchise in a really compact, interesting, and modern way, making it, in my opinion, the perfect starting point for anyone that's eager to get into the franchise but isn't sure where to start. I would argue the 54 film is also like the perfect place to start, and maybe even -1, but with this, you kind of get an introduction to all the key elements. Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah. I will admit, though, I was disappointed when I heard that Gareth Edwards would not be returning for this movie, but was so pumped when I found out that the guy behind Trick or Treat and Krampus was helming the project instead. King of the Monsters sort of reminds me of when a band puts out a greatest hits album. Burning Godzilla? Check. Rodan? Check. Mothra? Check. King Ghidorah? Check. Themes of nuclear weaponry and their effects on humanity? Check. The iconic Godzilla theme? Check. Bear McCreary's score for this film is the best out of the entire Monsterverse. I didn't really mention it while talking about the 2014 Godzilla movie, but I adore Alexandre Desplat's score for that film. It feels like a loving tribute to the Godzillas of yesteryear, but still maintains its own separate identity. However, McCreary's score is just infinitely better because it's almost like he went, Godzilla already has the greatest theme song of all time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Much like the film itself, the score feels like a perfect embrace of Toho's kaiju legacy while also incorporating modern filming techniques. The score is big, it's bombastic, much like the visual effects in this film. The score has these epic taiko chants and drums that resonate like the primal heartbeat of a titan awaking from centuries of slumber. McCreary masterfully weaves together traditional Japanese elements with contemporary orchestration, creating this tapestry that mirrors the awe-inspiring spectacle of giant monsters clashing amidst the chaos of human conflict. Now, unfortunately, because YouTube is YouTube, I can't play any of it without getting a copyright claim, so just go and listen to Battle in Boston on Spotify. It's incredible. King of the Monsters' visual spectacle is also unparalleled, with breathtaking CGI that brings the towering titans to life in stunning detail. The intricate design of the monsters, coupled with the scale of their destructive battles, immerses viewers in a visceral experience that epitomizes the grandeur of blockbuster cinema and kaiju cinema. From the vibrant hues of Mothra's bioluminescence to the thunderous roar of Godzilla, every frame is a testament to the filmmaker's dedication to visual excellence. By pushing the boundaries of CGI technology, Godzilla King of the Monsters offers audiences a truly immersive experience that transcends the limitations of traditional storytelling. In doing so, it reaffirms the enduring appeal of giant monster movies in the modern era. This movie feels like a Marvelization of Godzilla, and I actually mean that in the best way possible. So a good example of this would be when Dr. Serizawa, Dr. Graham, and Sam Coleman show up to recruit Mark Russell. Their entrance on that helicarrier thing feels like a Marvel scene. The way they enter and the way the music builds feels like something ripped right out of an Avengers movie. And even then, when they go to that Monarch outpost in the middle of the ocean and they gradually descend downwards, that feels a lot like a Marvel scene, specifically the first Avengers movie when they first go on the helicarrier. Now, if you're someone who doesn't like Marvel movies, then this might very well be a bad thing. I, for one, am indifferent towards them. But when it comes to Godzilla, you have to be big and bombastic. And it just so happens that Marvel movies, at least during this time, were big and bombastic and also very, very successful. Not to mention the film's thematic exploration of humanity's relationship with nature adds a ton of depth to the narrative, elevating it beyond mere spectacle. Through the characters' interactions with the monsters and the consequences of their actions, the film delves into complex ecological themes, highlighting the interconnectedness of all living beings and the consequences of environmental exploitation. The thematic depth adds layers of meaning to the film, resonating with audiences on a deeper level than just surface-level entertainment. You see, Godzilla films have always had environmental themes. Look no further than 1971's Godzilla vs. Hedorah, where Godzilla outright fights the physical embodiment of pollution. By addressing relevant ecological issues within the framework of a monster movie, King of the Monsters transcends its genre trappings to become a thought-provoking commentary on humanity's role in the natural world, even if this commentary is just a little bit shallow. This thematic richness not only enhances the viewing experience, but also underscores the film's relevance in today's world, where environmental concerns loom large. Godzilla King of the Monsters stands as the pinnacle of storytelling in the entire Monsterverse. I have no idea what they were smoking, but this movie does not deserve its criminally low Rotten Tomatoes score. Through its spectacular visuals, thematic depth, and epic scale, the film captures the essence of wonder and awe with its titans in a way that is truly unforgettable. As audiences are swept up in the epic battles and breathtaking imagery, they're reminded of the boundless possibilities of cinema and the enduring power of storytelling to evoke a sense of wonder within all of us. With all of that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. Consider becoming a member to support the channel. For just $1.99 a month, you'll receive member shoutouts and your name featured as an executive producer in all of our film projects. There's also going to be members-only videos as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content that you won't find anywhere else. As a lifelong fan of the Godzilla franchise, there have been Godzilla films with fantastic human characters. The original 1954 film, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and Shin Godzilla are highlights in my eyes, though nothing comes close to 2023's Godzilla -1. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's just an extra perk for anyone that wants to support the channel while also getting to see some unique content. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.